Welcome to Solo Parenting, the show for all single parents, whether you're divorced, widowed, or never married, custodial or visitational, mom or dad. I'm Cynthia McGregor, and with me this week are Ron Stevenson, private investigator. As always, we have Michelle Stern, psychotherapist, Chef Leah Gizzi, proprietor of Mama Jeetsies, and our Parent Talk panel, Claudia Bennis, Phyllis Beckford-Smith, and sitting in this week, Jennifer McMillan. New with us this week is Julie Dimowat, who's here to help your budget with her fantastic knowledge of discounts, bargains, coupons, and giveaways. And we're off and running. Our first guest is Ron Stevenson. Ron's been a private investigator for nearly 20 years and is certified in investigations concerning social media, an area of children's lives that troubles many parents these days, and should, especially solo parents. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you for having me, Cynthia.
You're welcome. Ron, kids these days spend a lot of time not just texting and talking on their cell phones, but on such social media sites as Facebook and MySpace, as well as, to a lesser extent, eBay and Craigslist. Why are children from single-parent homes particularly at risk on social networking sites and these other sites, and just what are the dangers?
Well, Cynthia, but the problem is with being solo parents, they probably have to work. And while that parent is out working, they think because the children comes home and is pretty much like a latchkey kid, that they're home in the house, that they're safe and secure, and they'll call the parent at work and say, okay, I'm home, everything is well. But what they don't realize is that there's a lot of problems with the kids getting in trouble on their cell phones, as well as getting into trouble on their computers, going to sites like Facebook, texting people, getting involved with posting pictures that they shouldn't, chatting with people, because children, even teenagers, they lack the maturity that's needed in order to know when they're in danger, when there's people out there that are up to no good.
Well, why is using social networking such a problem?
It's a problem because there's a lot of people out there that present themselves to be who they're not. There's also a problem with children are turning around and they're taking pictures of themselves, and they're turning around and they think because they're 13, 14 years old, they'll take a picture of themselves or a friend and they'll send it to another friend over Facebook, or they'll send it to another friend by cell phone. And sometimes the other parent might find out and they not have a sense of humor, or they take it a lot more seriously, and next thing you know, these kids are getting charged with child pornography charges, and they're getting listed as sexual predators, and that's a tag that doesn't go away. They're stuck with that their whole entire life.
You made a statement earlier off camera that if the child is not at home on a computer and is involved in an activity of some sort with adult supervision, he or she, I think that's without adult supervision, he or she may still be at risk. Please explain that.
Yeah, with technology today, with the cell phones being the way that they are, they're all connected to the internet, or they're connected with the capability of sending photos, or they're connected with text messages. And just because the kid's in an activity doesn't mean that they're still not doing things that they might not should be.
Well, the typical solo parent has even less discretionary time than the typical married parent to monitor her kids' activities, and yet she wants to protect her kids. What can parents do to prevent problems for themselves and their kids and protect their kids from these dangers out there?
Oh, good question. There's a few things that they can do. Number one, kids should communicate the old-fashioned way, either in person or by telephone. I don't believe in the social networking sites as far as communicating. I mean, maybe if it's a long-distance relative, but if these kids that do it locally, there's no need for it. That's the first thing they can do.
Pick up the phone.
Just pick up the phone, or just, hey, come over to the house and visit so-and-so. I mean, because if they're friends, they're probably friends that they're going to school with, and they see each other on a regular basis. It's just not necessary. It's just, what's in fashion. Another thing they can do is they can get monitoring software
The parents.
The parents can get monitoring software and know what their kids are doing on their cell phones and know what the kids are doing on their computers, so that if there is a problem, they can take care of it right away so it doesn't become a major issue for them.
What's some good monitoring software, and where would you get it?
You can come to my website. I have links to several different kinds of software. I don't endorse any particular one because each one has good and bad parts to them, and some of them work with some operating systems and some of them don't. So that depends upon every individual.
And if they're listed on your website, what's your website?
KnowItAllInvestigations.com.
KnowItAllInvestigations.com.
Yes.
Okay, any last words of wisdom, Ron?
Yes, I know it's tough to be a tough parent, but better to be a tough parent now than to turn around and have problems where you're going to have to start hiring lawyers or possibly have to hire me. So take care and, do the right thing and be a tough parent.
Thank you very much, Ron Stevenson.
Thank you, Cynthia.
And now Solo Parenting welcomes back Michelle Stern, psychotherapist, who's here from her office in Palm Beach. And Michelle, welcome.
Thank you.
Michelle, some of our viewers are solo parents as the result of divorce, and some as the result of death. Which is emotionally harder on a child, having his or her parents break up or having one of them die?
I would never make that judgment in that way, because really everyone goes through divorce and death differently, and the circumstances around it are what we need to look at. And when you're dealing with people, we're not comparing one's pain to another pain. We're cognizant of the fact that someone's suffering, and that's what we try to do, is to help that suffering and assign some meaning to it. That's most important.
So it's not a question of which is suffering. It's not a comparison. It's not a contest who's suffering
I've
more.
never experienced that as a psychotherapist, to compare one client coming in with one issue, regardless of what the issue is, versus another issue. Because again, as I said, everyone experiences things differently, and the details around that experience, what you're looking for is how the client feels. And so, again, I hesitate to make that comparison.
Is the coping mechanism different, I suppose, for dealing with a divorce or dealing with a death? Because a death is absolutely final. I mean, Daddy's gone, and that's all there is to it, and you know he's not coming back.
Right.
With a divorce, the child holds out hope for some period of time that maybe Mommy and Daddy will get back together.
Yes, the coping mechanisms are different, because you might have to add some more to the divorce, a child going through the divorcing of the parents. The grieving process is a little bit different for the child who's lost a parent or a sibling. That's true. But again, children grow up quite quickly when they go through loss at a young age. And that's one of the things that are sad and at the same time joyful, that children see things that I've seen adults not be able to see.
Is there an age at which it's easier or more difficult to cope for a child? Do 3-year-olds or 9-year-olds or 14-year-olds have an easier or a harder time?
Again, I don't want to make that comparison, because the details around the loss impact how that child is going to experience the loss. But I will say this, developmentally, we are all, the 3-year-old is impacted at 3, and the 13-year-old is impacted. And let's suppose the 3-year-old is impacted at 3. When they get to 13, that loss can be experienced at that loss that they had at 3 can be experienced at 13, and we can see it manifested in certain things with at-risk behaviors.